Hey, it's Marina, travel experta. Today, we're going to be talking about chocolate in Oaxaca. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. Chocolate and food and mezcal are probably the most important things that Oaxaca really is known for. Funny enough, Oaxaca is literally like the culinary hotspot of Mexico, which I did not know, but I'm very impressed. And also the chocolate and mezcal, it's a whole other thing, right? So the chocolate in Oaxaca it's a really big thing. Oaxacan chocolate, and it's not even just like, oh, we make chocolate. It's part of their culture. It's a pride. It's part of their community. And I personally love to go and do different tastings and different experiences. My husband and my sons, they go along with it. For them, it's either here or there. They don't really care. But when they do it, they're having a good time. I personally, here's the thing, I do not like chocolate. I am one of those rare beings that really don't like chocolate. I consider myself very lucky because chocolate is everywhere, and I'm grateful I don't like it because I'd be fat if I did. My husband, on the other hand, is obsessed with chocolate. He has to have a chocolate fix every single day. He says it's like orgasmic for him. Honestly, I wish I could find something that makes me like food that makes me feel like that, right? But regardless. So because of that and the love he has for it, I wanted to do a chocolate tasting. Even though I personally don't like the tasting, I do like the experience. So I started to search for it. Interestingly enough, very few places actually do tastings or like chocolate stuff, right? You would think that there would be a lot of it, but there's not. And I was recommended this one place that was called Chimalapa Cacao. Chimalapa is actually a little community outside of Oaxaca where they do the chocolate. Interestingly enough, no chocolate is actually made here. I mean, not made here, grown here. It is produced and it's not cultivated. It's, I guess, like done here, right? Like the cacao into the chocolate and the whole thing. But there's actually no cacao plants. Everything gets brought in here, but it's just known for their way of doing it, right? So I was told about this one place, and I thought it was going to be like, a chocolate shop where you could go and get hot chocolate, because you could get hot chocolate everywhere in Oaxaca, more or less. But it wasn't. So I contacted them via Instagram, because that's pretty much one of the only ways you could do it, or you could call them, but we're obviously not from Mexico, so I didn't know that at this point. So I contacted them, and apparently you could only do it by reservation, and they have several different workshops. They have make your own drink workshop, or choose your own, like a tasting of different chocolate drinks, which also gives you a little bit of information beforehand, or you can make your own chocolates depending on the amount of time. My husband, even he's not into like workshops, but he's like, oh, all right, I'll do it, because I like the experience. I know he loves the chocolate, but he's like, only something that's not more than an hour long, because the majority of the other workshops, when you make it and all this other stuff, they're usually around 2-3 hours. But this particular one, and this place that we got in touch with, was very good. They're like, oh, we would work with your preference, right? So we figured, all right, they gave us the address. It's called Chimalapa Cacao con Origen. So we figured it's a place, right? It was like a chocolate shop. So we get to the address, and there's nothing there, just the number. And we're like, where are we? Is this the right place? We started knocking on a door. Nothing was going on. So then we went right next door to this little store. And we're like, do you know this place? They're like, oh, yeah, you have to call them. I'm like, well, we can't call them, because we're not from here. Okay, I'll call them for you. They call them, and all of a sudden, the people from that door that we were knocking on open it up, and they're like, welcome. We're like, what is this place? And they took us through this like little alleyway. It's completely closed, I guess, with little apartments. I'm not even sure. We had like this abandoned truck, pickup. It was really bizarre. And at the end, there's this like beautiful place where they do all this stuff with chocolate. I mean, it's like this really lovely place where they teach you all about chocolate, and it's all about chocolate. And there was another family doing a chocolate workshop. It was just bizarre. It was so clandestine. Anyways, so they took us into this room and we went through the whole process of the different cacao beans and the tastings. Like I said, I personally do not like chocolate. And funny enough, my husband was in heaven. Even though he's like, I don't like these workshops, he absolutely loved the experience. We did the tasting of the bebidas. It's called the degustación de bebidas, which is tasting of the different drinks. So some of the cool facts about chocolate, because we hear the difference, we hear cacao and then we hear chocolate. And we're like, what's the difference? So cacao is just 100% the actual plant, the bean itself. The second you add an ingredient, usually the first ingredient to add to cacao would be sugar. The second you add that in, it's automatically called chocolate. That's literally all it is. Today, chocolate has many ingredients, but the main ingredients that you would add is sugar, which is number one. So whenever you hear, say, for instance, you hear, oh, it's 70% cacao, 30%, right? Like they say 70% cacao, which is like dark chocolate, meaning that all it really means is that it's 70% of the cacao and 30% sugar, literally sugar. Or because there's times, 50-50, that means 50% is sugar. Yes, that's how much sugar is added. The other one is cinnamon, which is canela, or panela, which is like the rawest form of sugar. You could also add cardamom to it. Milk does not really get added into it at all. That is a very westernized thing to do. And it's mainly done with water here. Like if you're going to drink the chocolate and if you're going to eat the chocolate, it's literally like 2 or 3, no more than 4 ingredients. They like to keep it really natural. They also add a little bit of almonds here. Especially here, so you will find it has some almonds in it. So then you get to try. They show us all these different types of ingredients that you could do, and then you could choose which drink that you would like to have with what kind of ingredients in it, and then you kind of make the drink and you taste it, and it's a really cool thing. And I have to say, my husband has been thanking me for days afterwards because that was his happy place. Like they give you the purest of the purest chocolate. You mix it. If you are a chocolate lover or even, you like chocolate or can handle it. Like I don't like anything chocolate, but I enjoyed the experience. Definitely this is the place for you to go to, and it's not expensive. They could tailor it to what you wanted to do. And it's just a really cool thing to considering Oaxaca is known for their chocolate. If you guys have had other experiences with chocolate in Oaxaca, I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a review, share it with your friends, and remember to make every day an adventure.